Hello, and welcome to episode number 2 of the Owl Podcast. In this episode, we're speaking to Bobby Meade. Bobby is currently residing in Florida and has extensive background in Part 135 and Part 91 scheduling. If you would like to get a hold of Bobby directly, drop us a note at dispatch@ldaviation.net. Good morning. Today we are going to talk with Bobby Meade, and he has been in our industry for over 18 years, both in 135 and 91, and airline as well. And today we're going to learn a little bit about his background and hear about his path into this career field. Good morning, Bobby.
Morning.
Thank you very much for taking your time to hang out and chat with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I will. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this industry? Because I think everybody's path is different.
I kind of fell into the scheduling part accidental. I was working in airport operations, Part 139. A few of my friends had gone over to a charter and management company previously, and they had kind of thought it would be a good fit for me, and before kind of went from there. Like a lot of the industry, that company no longer exists, was bought out and was grown and become it's renamed, but it's a small part of a much larger management.
Okay. So I'm curious, a lot of people in our industry just kind of fell into it similar to that. So what did you have any aviation background beforehand? Did you like aviation?
I've always been into aviation. I went to college for aviation management, graduated Arizona State University, did some flying out there. Always thought my career path was going to be pilot. And at this point, I had actually gone back to school for aviation. Fuel prices were very high. The economy was very uncertain. So I actually stopped with the professional flight degree midway and switched over to management.
Okay.
So it just became kind of one of those, like, I knew I wanted to be working with airplanes or around airplanes, travel. Also at the time, I didn't really know how many facets of it there was. I really just knew airline, private, didn't really know there was so much behind the scenes. As far as any of it went.
I find that the very common theme. Yeah, it was very common. Well, cool. Well, after that first job there at aviation, then where did you go?
We were being sold at the time, and I wasn't sure if I should stick around or kind of jump ship. And there was an open position at Pepsi. They had a Part 91 flight department out of White Plains, New York. So I was over there just about 3 years. And then again, similar situation. Former coworkers and friends reached out to me that were at Solaris and said, we think this would be a good fit. Why don't you come over here? Because we had always wanted to move to the Gulf Coast, the fact that Solaris and a lot of these flight coordinator positions now are remote, it was a good choice for us. So we were able to leave the Northeast and come down to the nicer weather.
Nice. That's awesome. How long have you been now in Florida?
5 weeks. We're fresh.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, so you guys are really still enjoying all of that. Out of the Yeah.
We're still in the honeymoon.
No more winter phase. Okay. All right. Excellent. Very cool. Well, tell us a little bit about maybe your favorite piece of the job, or like what do you excel at? What part do you like the most?
I feel I do my best under pressure. It's not, I don't want to call it fun. It's not fun when, a particular ASAP or mechanical situation appears, but it's kind of like, okay, I need to get this done. I need to get it done now. And it needs to kind of be flawless to make sure, especially with the 135 operators, they're paying a lot of money to use these jets, and they want the product that they paid for. So, not that 99 isn't just as important, it's just a little bit more added pressure with the charter customers, I believe, or
Yeah,
just in my
right.
experience. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I don't doubt that at all. I have very little experience in 135, but yeah, I don't doubt that. Um, so with your background in flying a little bit, do you do any of the flight planning or um, maybe more technical pieces when you're working in 135?
No, I haven't in a long time, and I'm actually a little disappointed that I haven't had a role where I could keep those skills up. Um, the last few positions that I've held, that was generally all done by the pilots. Every now and then, if you spot something along the reef or something where I would sometimes suggest to the pilots, like, hey, maybe we should stop here. Fuel is cheaper. It's a little bit more along the route kind of thing. I have my 2 cents. Sometimes it's welcome, sometimes it's not. But
Yeah,
for the most part, that's been just a strictly pilot, you know, duty for.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep, that's very common. Yeah, very common. So, um, how about like personal life? Is there anything fun you want to tell us about your personal life? Are there any things you're super passionate outside of work about?
Outside of work, basically life revolves around my kids now. I have a 5-year-old and a 1.5, two boy. So we're always breaking things up and chasing them. And basically, we go to bed early, tired. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
but
a big hockey fan. Um, Pretty much everything, especially since we've moved, we spend a lot more time outdoors, a lot more activities, biking, fishing, definitely the beach more. So we're kind of, as long as we're outside, pretty happy. So,
well, that's great. Yeah. So wait, what about hockey though? Is there any hockey in Florida?
there's a lot of hockey here. I
What?
actually was able to find a men's league team, like the second week we were down here. They play on Thursday night,
Nice.
and yeah, and it's huge. And I guess part of it, I've also lived in Arizona for a little while. It was pretty big there. I attribute it to it's very hot most of the year, so it's a nice escape to walk into a big refrigerator. And then, well, like Arizona, Florida, there's not a lot of actual Floridians here. Everybody's from the Northeast or Midwest, and so we kind of wrong with them.
Sure, they're like trying to get away from the snow. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, if you could have a perfect job, what would fit you and where would you excel?
Uh, I really do enjoy the scheduling, the 91 and the 135. I guess the what would make it perfect would probably be the flexibility. Um, and I guess micromanagement can be an issue. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to be trusted to do what you need to do without that constant feeling of somebody over your shoulder. And
Yep.
without that, I think it's a different kind of pressure and anxiety that it would be if, for like I mentioned earlier, like an ASOS or a mechanic. Like when you have that one person over your shoulder or multiple people, whatever it is. So I think the little, when they leave you to do your job because they know you can do it, by
Mm-hmm.
all means, step in and, critique and give when you need to. But that, and I guess the overall flexibility and especially nowadays, I guess it's becoming more common, but the ability to work from home really helps, especially with a young family. I can get the kids
Yep.
to and from school and activities and still be reachable and do what I need to do. Make sure it's like that.
Yep. I totally agree. And I really hope that this whole industry switches over to be more remote in general because It seems a little bit more common to have remote positions on the West Coast. Seems like the East Coast almost is a little bit slower. Now, I don't have any data on that, but it just feels like they still want to see a butt in the chair, just to
Yeah,
see somebody there. Um, but yeah, I think the whole COVID thing is changing people's ideas about that too. They're realizing that these jobs can be done perfectly fine remotely.
sure.
Yeah. I'm excited to see some of the changes there. So, well, let's see. So, what if you had any advice to somebody who is new coming into this industry, what would you tell them? Like, are there any education pieces that you would suggest, or what would you think would be good to start their path?
Um, I guess first off, to have thick skin. Um, the industry, I started with airline, um, and then came to the private side. Both are very similar in a way that you really need to let things roll off your back and then move on and learn from it. Everybody makes mistakes. I've made them. I think the best thing you can do, especially being new, is if you make a mistake, going up to it right off the bat so we can fix it. And I think other people, your management and so on, your superiors, at least in my view, I feel like if you own up to it right away, they'll notice that you realize it was a mistake. Like sometimes you make a mistake and I realize you did it, and then it's causes that domino effect. And then most times where I've seen like, I made a mistake early on, like I kind of tried to cover it up and it came back to bite me. So that was probably my first few months of doing this job and realize right away, own up to your mistakes, have a little thick skin, um, especially
Yeah.
91 and 135. Some of the owners, they're not, there's some great owners and then there's some great owners who really don't care about you. So you can't take it personally. Like you're supposed to do what you're supposed to, I guess, like anything else.
Sure.
And there's um, a lot of great aviation related channels on YouTube that'll give you good info.
You can.
Most of them geared toward actual flying, not so much this end, but if your passion's aviation, stay with it.
Awesome. All right. Very good advice. Excellent. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for taking your time today and telling us about your path. And I always find it very interesting, um, especially the 135 side. I know very little about that. But yeah, thank you again for coming and chatting with us. And if people wanted to get a hold of you, is there a spot or where should they reach out to?
I'm not big for social media. They tend to give you my contact info, email and phone number.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
All right.
sure.
So if people want to reach out, um, feel free to reach out to me and then I'll connect you up with Bobby and make the connection. So, great. Well, thank you again. We'll talk with you again soon.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.